studio in Sandy, Utah. It is October 3rd? Yep, October 3rd, 2022. I am going to be joined here in just a minute with my daughter, Amelia Taylor, and we are going to dive into kind of a new series, a new discussion, and I hope that you'll participate. So I have been thinking about creativity and nurturing creativity and how to express creativity. I've kind of been working on, I've teased in the last year about, hi, Joe. Hi, everybody. Thank you for hopping on. I've teased a little bit about a book that I'm working on, and I'm not putting a deadline on this book. I'm not going to, it's just something that I'm working on in the background, and I'm really excited about it. What I want to do is I want to talk about thinking like an artist and nurturing creativity. And I'm going to be launching a series of blog posts that explores all of these sorts of questions. So I'm working on the post that will go out this week. I'll finish it either today or sometime in the next few days. But I am really excited about this topic. I'm kind of passionate about creativity, where it comes from, how to nurture it, what it means to be an artist and be a female artist. And so anyway, Amelia and I are going to kind of introduce some of those topics today in a little discussion, because Amelia and I actually have some really good discussions in the studio. And I thought it would be really fun to just pull her into the discussion. And I'm going to actually pull in other artists throughout this sort of, I don't know how long these blog posts are going to last. I don't know how long I'm going to explore this, but as an artist, this is just something that I kind of want to explore. So Amelia, pull your chair up, and we're going to, let me move this out of the way. Sorry. Oh, the studio is just a mess all the time. I always think I'm going to get it cleaned up, and I mean, it's okay right now, but we've been working on getting the kits ready for the cardinal. You might have seen the winter cardinal. We're now we're pre-selling that kit, and so we've got a lot of that going on right now. And I've got this other tree skirt that I'm working on. We've got a lot happening, so it's hard to always have the studio really tidy and clean. Okay, so let me just share with you something that kind of one of the things that kind of prompted this thought process today. By the way, this is my daughter, Amelia. She works for me full-time. She has recently graduated in art and design with a minor in art history. So she's pretty well educated in the art world. And she also just has just a killer eye. I really rely on her to bounce ideas off of. And I call her my boss, because she, I think, really has helped to elevate my work and to guide my work. And anyway, she's irreplaceable. And she's my daughter, and we have so much fun. So you might remember my grandma died 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Just a few weeks ago, my grandma died. And so we've been cleaning out her house, and I wanted to share something that was in her house. So she had this, this is a flat hand-painted wreath that was, I don't know, cut exactly and then painted. Oh, look, Amelia, we can put your face right there. We can frame your face. Anyway, this darling hand-painted wreath. Well, guess who painted it? Me. I painted this wreath probably 20 years ago. I'm trying to see if there's a date on it. This was
2006.
Okay, so 2006. So that was almost 20 years ago that I painted this. This was just, and I actually have painted a few of these, and I gave another one to my other grandma. I don't know if I kept one. I don't know, but I really like these hand painted ones. But when I found it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. And I brought it over to my house, and it's been sitting in there. And I was like, oh, man, I was a pretty talented artist. I have been an artist my whole entire life. And the funny thing about this is that it's really hard for me to call myself an artist. And I want to kind of explore. The first topic is who gets to define whether we are an artist, and why is that so hard for me to call myself an artist. In fact, another thing that we were talking about a minute ago is I was explaining to Amelia, part of the reason I think this is really hard for me to call myself an artist is that when I was a young woman, when I was probably 16 or 17, I was in high school. I was a junior or senior in high school, and I was an artist, and I was working hard. I always was one of those kids that was in the art department, and I was a painter, and I always did reflections and whatnot, and I won a really, really prestigious award. It's probably the most prestigious thing that an artist in Utah, a young high school artist, could be recognized for. And it's still around today. It's called the Sterling Scholar Program. And in each discipline in high school, so art, math, science, history, whatever, they choose one student per year that is the Sterling Scholar in that discipline. And so I was the Sterling Scholar in art for my high school. And as soon as it was announced that I was the representative for our school in art, I had a bunch of boys come out of the woodwork and began kind of just behind my back, and not really behind my back. I mean, it was pretty obvious. They were like, oh, she's such a wannabe artist. She's just a wannabe artist. And that label really stuck with me for a lot of years. In fact, I told Amelia that I still have that label on my Instagram account, because
in her Instagram bio, it says wannabe artist, and I just got after her because that's so like self-deprecating to call yourself that. And I said, take that out. I can't stand that she calls herself that.
And I said, well, one of the reasons I leave it there is because as an artist, one really awesome thing about being an artist is that you can always, always, always improve. So I think artists don't really hit their stride until they're old, right? Like I have hopefully a lot of years to attain the level of being an artist. But what are the drawbacks for calling myself a wannabe artist versus an artist?
Well, you're discrediting yourself. It's just, it's so annoying to me that you can't recognize that you have real, genuine, like rare talent. And it's okay to recognize that and still be humble about who you are and your talent while still recognizing that you have that talent.
Thanks. Well, thank you. So it's really, really difficult for me. It's always been difficult. Even though I've made a career my whole entire life, I've been an artist and a creator. It's been super difficult for me to call myself an artist. And that kind of prompted this blog post that I'm writing right now. The question that I'm going to pose, and I'm going to pose it to you, who gets to decide whether you call yourself an artist or not?
I don't think anyone but yourself gets to decide that. If you're creating something, you are technically an artist.
Why is it so hard for me to call myself an artist?
Well, do you want to get into that discussion we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, why is it so
gender?
hard? So we think there's maybe a gender element?
Yeah, I think women are not I think women they consider themselves non-creatives, and they discredit a lot of their artistic capabilities, when I think women are inherently like so creative.
Mm-hmm.
And wherever it comes from, whatever you believe in, like I think women are just inherently creative. And I think for so many years women were discredited and pushed aside, and not their talents weren't recognized.
Yeah, and I have to agree with that. I think you know, as a high school kid back graduating in 1990, so I was in the, you know, in the 80s, I think there was a lot of gender bias.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why those boys felt like they could, and it was just boys that were picking on me, that were bullying me, saying, "Oh, she's just a wannabe artist." They couldn't take it that a girl,
Mm-hmm.
you know, was maybe a better artist than them. And so maybe there is some I do agree with you. I agree with you. I think that there are, as women, we historically have been discredited. We have not been held up as the artists that we are, as the creators that we are.
Well, in that post that I sent you, I shared with my mom this, it was a comic or something, a graphic.
I'll put this in my blog post
Yeah,
because
I
it's
think
pretty
we'll
amazing.
link it.
It's pretty
It was
interesting.
This woman having a conversation with her grandmother, and her grandmother saying, "Oh, you're so creative. I've never been creative like you. I'm not a creator." And the granddaughter is looking around the room, and they're sitting in this room where there's a homemade quilt, there's a homemade tapestry, there's a fresh plate of cupcakes, there's
a flower
arrangement. Like the entire room was filled with creations from this grandmother, but she says, "You get it from your dad, you get it from your uncle." She's not giving herself the credit that she deserves. And I just think it's time to give ourselves credit. We are creators.
So along those lines, that's kind of an interesting thread as well. So I've always credited my grandfather. My grandfather was an amateur artist, and I always credited any talent that I had as coming from him. But as I've gotten older, and I've had my grandma Woodward, who just died, from whose home I just got this. She was
interior designer.
She was an interior designer. She was a decorator, and she was so talented, and she just had
the
just
best
the
eye
best
for beauty and putting things together and
Yeah.
decorating. And
like her home is just this exquisite, beautiful place, and she had such an appreciation for beauty. And yet it's funny, like my parents always said, "Oh, Emily, you get your artistic talent from your grandpa." And that's probably true. I probably got some artistic talent from my grandpa, but I think it also came from my grandma, you know, but never once in my life was that discussed, or they never attributed her with any artistic talent or creative talent. So that's just kind of an interesting thing that has been bumping around in my brain, and that we've talked about a lot. And I actually also I'll be introducing, there's a woman who's a friend of mine who just, she is just a few years older than me. She's in her 50s, and she is a fantastic artist. And I recently acquired one of her paintings. It's at the framer right now. So when I get it, I can't wait to show it to you, because I'm passionately in love with this painting. I'm so excited at the success that she's having nationwide. So she's beyond just being a local Utah artist, which we have a ton of really, really talented Utah artists, but she is now being recognized on the national scale as an impressionist artist. She's won all these awards, impressionist artist. And it looks like my connection is having a hard time. Anyway, so her name is Jane Ann Woodhead, and she only started painting when she was 51. So she's a year older than I am right now. She began painting and just dove in with both feet, and really, really worked to hone her talent and her technique, and learn the technique, and pull the artist out that she knew was always resided within her. And so I've contacted Jane Ann, and I'm going to do a blog post with her where I kind of interview her about some of these questions. She really feels strongly about inspiring women, older women, to reach their fullest potential in their creative pursuits. And I share that passion. And so when I acquired the painting and we were just talking about this, I thought, you know what, so I want to take lessons from her. And we just got talking kind of about, you know, our similar goals, our similar feelings about women in artwork or women as creators. So do you want to share some of these ideas that we've had? So kind of, and a lot of this, these are things that I've been writing about in my third book. And so I'm gonna kind of, I think to move the project forward, I'm gonna start doing this blog post series, and I'll be talking about these blog posts on the live video once in a while too. So go ahead, Amelia, let's just go down the list of things that we think. Oh, and let me also add this. Before she gets started, I want to draw out your comments and thoughts. So if you have thoughts and comments about anything that if anything that we say is jarring your brain, we'd love to see your comments, and we'd love to, if you want to contribute via email, you can email us, Emily@collagequilter.com or Amelia@collagequilter.com. So Amelia, share with them what our thoughts are for topics.
We've kind of gone through a lot of them, but how to think like an artist is something we really want to dissect and get into.
Yeah, so that's one thing. In fact, Jane Ann just texted me right now. So how to think like an artist. And that's where I want to interview Jane Ann, and we'll probably pull in some other artists as well. How to think like an artist.
Like, I think it's interesting because I think anyone can call themselves an artist. Anyone can create something, be an artist, but there is like a technical side to it as well.
Sure.
It's not just, there's a technical side to it.
What do you mean technical side?
Well,
there's technique.
There's technique, and I can't just pick up a paintbrush and pencil and draw something like you can. You have training and you know what you're doing. And
well, let me clarify. She said you have training. I'm entirely self-taught. So, but with myself, you know, teaching myself, I have taken lots of classes and read lots of books and stuff like that. So that's where my training comes in.
Well, and I can recognize I'm not good at like drawing or painting, but that's what I went to school. Like, I went to school to learn those techniques, and I know, so it's kind of, I have kind of like an outsider's perspective because I
think we have a really good, so combined together, we've got it, because you've just got a natural eye for design. You've been trained in the techniques, and I have some natural talent that we can apply to this. Okay. Yes. So anyway, thinking like an artist, that's going to be one of the topics.
Improving our understanding of what makes good design.
We're both really passionate about this.
I'm so passionate about good design. It's why I got the degree that I did, because I love good design.
So I think this will be really fun to do a deep dive in what constitutes good design and why design is important and how design is different than art.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So that's a topic we're going to dive into. And that will be really, really important.
Okay. An art critique class.
Yes. So this was my idea, because we're going to do an art critique class, probably on this live video, about how to look at art and what to look at and what to consider and what makes it really fine art, high art.
Because there are certain things that, like, I was taught when I'm critiquing art, there's specific things that my professors would have us look for and exercise us in.
And I think understanding that, how to critique art, will help us become better collage quilters, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that has really helped me is, as I've critiqued my own collage quilts in front of a class, and I point out the different techniques or different color, how I've applied color theory in a certain way, that has really helped to elevate my game a little bit, I think.
Yes. I just saw a comment and it feeds into what I was going to say next. So someone just said, I often found my creativity based on necessity. I could not afford to buy those things that I could design, from clothing to upholstery, from floral design. So I am big into interior design. I love interior design. I'm passionate about it. It's so interesting how so many designers don't actually have formal training or education. It came from necessity. It came from them wanting, humble beginnings, wanting to upholster a chair that they found at a thrift store. And so they taught themselves how to do it. And it came from necessity and from not having resources. So I think that's that's just so interesting, because that's how it starts for so many people.
Well, I think it's really easy to have good taste if you're wealthy.
Yes.
Like, if you're wealthy, you can just go out and buy whatever the heck you want.
But also, money doesn't buy good design.
Money
doesn't buy taste.
Money does not buy good taste. So, kind of very interesting comment. So let's go over a few more of the topics that we'll be discussing.
A creativity challenge.
Oh, yeah. I really want to do this creativity challenge. I've been thinking about this for 18 months since I did my creativity challenge in April of 2021. That has not left me. That was such an impactful thing. And so I think, again, I've been kind of hung up on providing that in a book format. And now I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I want to get this out there. I want to get this going. So creativity challenge is going to be really fun.
And then folk art versus high art. I'm not known for pronouncing things correctly or using the right words.
Even though she's a college graduate.
I'm good at writing, though.
She is good at writing. Yeah, so I think this is an interesting thing. Folk art, which has traditionally been the realm of women, versus high art. So I want to kind of dive into that a little bit and talk about what constitutes fine art versus folk art, and what the differences are, and is folk art ever high art, fine art? So we'll kind of dive into these things, and I don't have the answers to all of these things. I'm gonna learn as we go and find resources, and we're just gonna learn from each other.
Okay, the rest we've just all kind of
touched on.
Yeah, discussed.
Okay, so I am excited to kind of quickly read through your comments, and we will probably be incorporating a lot of your comments, because I know this is a really thoughtful audience, and so this will be really fun. I think this will be a way that we can kind of interact a little bit more in a on a different level. So let's read these comments and just kind of see what we're seeing. Okay. So someone just said, okay, I'm going to go back up to the top here. It's so great to have the names, the familiar names that we recognize from all over the place. Thank you so much for always joining us. It's really fun for us to see this. Okie doke, getting down to the questions. I love it. Don't you love to see where people are from?
Mm-hmm.
I love to see where people are from. You guys, thank you so much for always popping on and just saying hello, where you're from. And if you're someone that just is sitting there watching, or you watch this later, I have so many people tell me, oh, I watch you. And they're people I know. And I'm like, well, geez, hop on and say hello. But they don't. So I could just call you out right now and say, hi, Eric. Hi, Grandma. Grandma used to watch me all the time, and she never would say anything. Rest in peace, Grandma. I love you. Okay, let's see here. Oh, Barbara just asked, are you going to do a collage of the wreath? I hadn't thought of it.
I don't know how to do that.
I don't know how to do that. And I really like this medium, my idea. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of insight. I was like, wreath is so difficult to store, right? Because it's all full and you don't want to smash it. So that's where this idea came from. I was like, oh, I'll just do a hand painted wreath and then you can put it away. And I'm like, geez, maybe I should start that again. Don't you think this is darling?
Yeah, but where did you find this?
I had it made. I found someone that would cut it. And yeah, I just think it's the coolest thing. So anyway, I don't think we're going to do a collage of it, but maybe we'll paint some.
Maybe I paint my number of a wreath.
Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe we'll do a paint class with, anyway, okay. Let's see.
Yeah, listen to your daughter.
Okay, Terry. She said, listen to your daughter. She is correct. Being humble doesn't mean you have to underestimate yourself. You're right. I don't know why I'm this way. I know a lot of women are this way. It feels arrogant to say, yeah, I'm an artist, but maybe if I don't say it that way. Anyway, thanks, Terry. I appreciate that. Okay, so somebody just said, love this discussion. Emily has made me feel like a real artist. And recently I switched from calling my craft room to studio. Isn't that such a great comment?
Mm-hmm. I think
that's a good one.
What you're gonna say.
Well, I'm just reading it, but every turn there is truly that continued artistic development. I think that's really a smart thing to kind of change the language that we use to describe ourselves and the spaces that we create.
Well, and I think another along the line of that, obviously, like crafts are artistic, and crafts is not like a derogatory term in any way, I don't think, but like studio definitely is an elevated, my hair is really fuzzy, I'm just saying.
No, it's not.
Studio, it seems like an elevated term. Along the lines of that, people can be really, I don't think they mean to be like condescending when they say, oh, that's so fun, you get to do your hobby for your job.
Oh,
like it's a job. And if you're an artist or if you're in the creative realm, it's your job. It can be your passion, but
it's your career.
It can be so condescending to say, oh, it's a cute little hobby, it's a cute little side thing.
I tell you what, I get this at every show. So all the trade shows I go to, there's always somebody's idiot husband that comes up to me and he's like, well, how fun for you that you get to do this as this hobby you've made into your job.
Would we say that to men? No, we wouldn't.
Stop it. Give me some respect. I feel like now that I'm 50, I can I'm an adult, mature woman, and I can just say, well, thanks. It's actually not a hobby. I probably make more money than you. That's what I would like to say.
So give yourself the respect you deserve.
That's right. Okay.
That's love it. I'm saying.
Okay.
I already read that one.
Okay, we're just scrolling down the comments right now.
Okay, read Jan. See, that's another good.
Okay, Jan has a really good comment. She said, I think all artists find it hard to say I'm an artist. Even when I had a studio in an art gallery, I couldn't say it. In recent years, I've been able to recognize that I have the gift of creativity. Jan, thank you so much. So why? Now, my question is why? I'm trying to figure out, why is it so difficult for us to call ourselves artists?
It's like we don't want to overstep or step on anyone's toes. I don't know. I just don't.
I think part of it is because as women, we feel like we're crafters, not artists. The other thing too, I think artists, what we're creating is subjective. And so there might be people out there who think that I'm not an artist. Maybe that's part of it too. Like maybe I'm not good enough. I don't qualify to be called an artist because other people would assume that my work isn't worthwhile.
And to that I say, look at what abstract artists are making.
Good point. That's a really good
point.
Who gets to define who's the artist?
Like, I think we can all say impressionist artists create much more intricate, elevated work versus like Mark Rothko, like some really abstract block. It's just like there's such a difference, but they're both art.
Yeah. Good point.
You can't just because you can't like judge based off of stylistic attributes.
So I think that's one reason too. Another thing that I need to stop doing, that it has served me well for a long time, to say fake it till you make it. Like, I'm faking it till I make it. I'm not faking anymore. I feel like I know who I am. I'm going to say that I'm still solving problems and I'm figuring things out as a business owner. But I'm not faking it anymore. Right? So I'm going to stop saying that.
Yeah. And again, it doesn't mean you're like this arrogant, prideful person. You can still have humility, but still have respect for yourself and recognize your accomplishments.
Okay, fantastic. All right, let's see here. So somebody just said, in many, many, many of our eyes, what an awesome artist you are. Hooray for our teacher. What an artist you are. That's very, very sweet. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's see. Any other thoughts that you see?
Whoever said art is more like nature versus nurture, you should elaborate on that. I want to know more what you mean by that.
Yeah, I want to know that too. So somebody commented, a Facebook user commented, art is much like nature versus nurture. I think what I would take from that is that an artist can be developed through practice, but it really helps to have some natural tendencies, natural ability as well. So I think to be an artist requires maybe both. It requires nurture and some nature, right?
There are natural born
artists talents. For sure there are.
But there's also completely formal education, formal training.
I think there's a lot that can be learned. And I actually think that most people have more creativity within them than they will allow to be expressed, or they just discount it. So that is one thing I feel really strongly about, that I think part of being human is having the capacity to create. And whether that creativity is expressed in a visual art form or a music or a business, every part of being human is having creativity and just recognizing how we can nurture it. Okay. So that's the one that you just read, right? That's a really good one. Janie also said, so excited. I've always said, I am creative, but I'm not an artist. Also, suggestion, when anyone has a question, why not write the question in caps? Oh, perfect idea. Thank you so much. That will help me to scroll through the questions so much easier. So yeah, let's do that. Let's incorporate that. So going forward, if you have a question, will you please write your question in all caps, just so that it's easier for us to find it in the comments? That would be really, really helpful. Great suggestion. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to answer a collage quilting question. Kate, who cooks, love it. She said, interesting discussion. Just finishing up my first collage quilt. What stitch length do you use when quilting your collage quilts? So like so many things, I don't even pay attention. So my stitch length is just the default length then on my Bernina, which I think is set at a 2 or 2.5. And I think that's what it is. So let me double check and I'll get back to you on that. Okie doke.
I think that is so true.
Which one?
I think that women are generally more nurturing and caregivers, and we feel that we're just doing what we do. And I think that's absolutely true. But I think that's true, but it's okay to give ourselves the credit that we are creatives.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that women are caregivers, we are nurturers, and we feel that it's just part of what we do to create a home environment that's lovely, a little nest that's lovely. It's just part of part of what we do. We don't consider it that it's actually a worthwhile creative thing. And that's where too I want to talk about elevating our design. So just like my grandma and like you've done to your home, you've really elevated the space in your home to be really, really just scrumptious. I'm not so good at that. That's your talent, and I want to learn from you, and I want to learn from my grandma. Like, too late, but how did she do it? I mean, I can think back on, I don't know. Anyway, so okay. I agree with calling my quilting room studio, for that's where I design with the use of color and fabric. Yep. And as being a collage quilter too, now I say I'm a quilt artist. I'm a quilt artist. My medium is fabric. And we're going to add another topic about quilts as art. Put that down. Quilts as art. I have been so passionate about or quilts and art for many years. And so I want to dive into that a little bit more.
I just saw another good.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's see where
Madeline just added a really good comment, and Madeline, I know, has posted just amazing artwork. Hasn't she? Isn't she the one that has posted those things that are just so beautiful with tons of color?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I think, Madeline, you're a fantastic artist. And she said, we compare ourselves with other artists and we feel we're not good enough to say that we're artists. I think that's really common.
So someone said, move your mouse. You just went over.
Oh, sorry.
I think a big part of it is that unless we're doing art as a profession, then it's hard to take on the title, which I think is true. I think that's so true. But I think also that's, like we said, women have been really pushed aside in the arts world for centuries. This is fresh on my mind, so I'll use this example. There was a print designer in like the Art Nouveau era, a woman, and she was completely like not recognized. Her name wasn't put on any of her work, but she was a professional. She was producing things that were being printed, but she wasn't considered a professional. She actually ended up committing suicide. Very sad life. Anyways, even if you are in the profession, I think so many women are just pushed aside. I mean, there's more of a space in recent years now for women, but it's just interesting to see what women perceive themselves as.
It is. I agree with that if you're not making money as an artist, then it's hard to call yourself an artist. But I would still consider you an artist if you're creating, someone said, for me, it's because I generally am following someone else's pattern. It is not a creation that's totally mine. I can understand why that would make it hard for you. Although I think as
we
artists,
only draw inspiration from other people.
That's right.
Nothing is original.
Yeah. You just don't find original content. It's all inspired by somebody else. So even like artists, like if you try and sit and pull something out of the hat that's never been created before, you can't do it because your consciousness has been impacted by other things that you've seen. You've been inspired by other things. So that's kind of how I think about quilt patterns. You are inspired by it. It's okay to create something like that. In fact, I love that. I love that it's a way to learn the craft, right? I feel like somebody said, I feel like I don't totally fit in some quilting clubs, but not sure artist clubs would say, no, you are a quilter. Oh, that's interesting. So she's saying she doesn't really fit into the quilting clubs, but then the artist clubs would say, no, you're not using our medium, so therefore you're not an artist. That's a really good point too. So yeah, kind of where do we fit as artists who are using fabric? It's kind of an interesting thought. fortunately, I do feel like artisanship, craftspeople are getting their day, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there has been a real resurgence and an appreciation for anything that
Handmade.
is handmade,
Mhm.
handcrafted
Anything artisan is like,
is just awesome.
love it.
And thank goodness for Etsy, right?
Mhm.
Like Etsy
Yes.
has provided a platform for people to be able to sell their
Mhm.
artwork, their artisan crafts.
I buy so much from Etsy.
Yeah, Etsy is it really it has transformed kind of our culture. And also I think Pinterest has done that too, really allowing us to broaden our what we see,
Mhm.
broaden our inspiration
Well,
base.
there's a niche for everyone.
There's a niche for everyone now. Thank goodness. Okay, gosh, this is a great discussion. I want to just take look at a few more comments. And then if you don't mind, I think what I'll do is I'm going to kind of distill some of the themes that we've had, and I'm going to put them in the blog post. So watch for that blog post on collagequilter.com. And then also, we always put an email out on Fridays that are kind of a recap. So we'll put a link for that blog post that's a recap of this discussion in the Friday email. Okay, so I might do see. Oh, I love this comment. So Patricia says, part of being an artist is inspiring people. You are definitely an inspiration and have inspired me to push myself to be better and more intuitive in my own passions. I love that definition of being an artist. And I agree with that being an artist also involves inspiring people.
Mhm.
And that's kind of
Well, that's where like interior design, for
Yeah,
example,
I was
like
just gonna
I
say
am
that.
I get so excited when I see a beautifully designed interior, and that's where like Grandma Woodward, like she was
Yeah.
inspiring people. She was an artist.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, very, very cool. That's a great thought. Okay, let's see. Any other comments that
oh, someone just said, this is a quilting thing, but someone
Okay.
said it would help if you marked your patterns for beginners, intermediate, advanced. We do in the pattern descriptions. They always say whether it's beginner or intermediate or advanced.
I do think that's something that I've been trying to make sure that I always indicate if it's an intermediate, beginner, or advanced. I will confess though, it's been a little difficult for me to identify, but I think I finally figured it out. So I've been doing this now for a few years, and I think I figured out kind of what defines a beginner pattern versus an intermediate pattern. So thank you for that suggestion. And I will always try and make sure that I provide that information. Okay, we are just looking at comments. I want to address this one. This is a really interesting comment. Susan said, professional career, wife, mother. And she says, my therapist asked me why I don't feel like I deserve to take the time to express creativity myself. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, or express myself as a creative.
Okay.
I think it means the same.
So, I like this comment because this is something I'm going to share in one of my blog posts. I've been doing some research kind of about the intersection between mental health and creating your or expressing your creativity. And guess what? There's no doubt that being able to express ourselves creatively leads to better mental health. And part of that is because our brains need play. So when I say I'm playing with fabric, yeah, I'm playing with fabric. I'm allowing my brain to go through these exercises that are crucial for my mental health. So I think that's really interesting that your therapist has said, well, why don't you make time for your creativity? So that's a really, really interesting thread, I think. Okay. God, we could just keep going and going, but I need to get to work. I've got stuff to get done. And I want to,
Did you go over announcements at all?
let's just go over announcements. So thank you, everybody. So as you're watching this video later too, on delay, go ahead and add your comments. We're going to be gathering these comments. And again, I'll distill them in the blog post because I think this is a super interesting discussion for our community. And so now I just want to shift gears, just make some quick announcements. Number one, we have our Collage Quilter retreat this week. So here in beautiful Utah, that is in the height of gorgeous fall weather in Midway, Utah. So we're starting on Wednesday. I look forward to seeing so many of you at the homestead on Wednesday, and that will go through Saturday. And then the other announcements. So we've been pre-selling the Winter Cardinal. We sold out the number that we felt like we could package safely. We've added just a few more onto that. So we've got, I think it's still available, but man, that is selling quick. And so if you are interested in making the Winter Cardinal, do you want to grab it and share them? If you're interested in in making the Winter Cardinal, go ahead and order it right away because we won't be taking orders for the kits anymore and we'll be out of fabric. So there it is. I love this one. That's a fun little piece to make. And then what other announcements do we have? We're going to be opening up the retreat for next year, which will be October 4th through the 7th at the Waldorf Astoria in Park City. This is going to be a really, really, really high-end, lovely luxury retreat. And I am super excited to invite 18 of you to come and join me there. Anything else about announcements? I think that's about all.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here. This was really fun. This was fun for me to bring in Amelia and to visit with all of you. So I will see you again next Monday at this time, 11 o'clock Mountain Time. And some of you I'll be seeing up in Midway later this week. Have a lovely week. I will